More Than Rich podcast. Today we are here with Kevin Palmieri. Is that how you say that?
Nice. Very well done.
The founder and co-host of the Next Level University podcast. Kevin's story is all about bouncing back from tough times and turning things around. He went from dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts to creating a successful podcast with over 1,650 episodes and a thriving business. Kevin's super into self-improvement, fitness, weightlifting, martial arts, and even rapping. I've just found that out. We're excited to chat with him about his journey, passions, and lessons he's picked up along the way. Let's dive in. Welcome, Kevin.
I appreciate you having me, my friend. Are you a rapper as well?
I'm an artist. I just think rapper's a little degrading.
Well, I respect the artistry, and I could tell. I had a feeling when I looked at you. So shout out to all the artists out there.
Dope. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Kev, what was your most difficult realization that you had to accept during your lowest points? How did it change you?
I think one of the most challenging realizations I've ever had is I felt like I wasted the first 27 years of my life.
Damn.
Yeah,
it's a drastic statement. No?
It's heavy. I got a lot of awareness all at once. I thought that if I grinded my way to success, if I made a good amount of money, that all of the internal stuff that I was dealing with would go away. And I grinded my face off. 1 year, I made the most money that I'd ever made, and it didn't change anything internally. And honestly, it kind of broke me. So that would be the answer. And that's the truth for me.
You made me think about how people always say, man, I would do this once I have that. And then most times it doesn't really happen, right? It's like, no, if you're not doing that before you get to that, you know what I mean? It just exacerbates 100%. Who you already are. That's you kind
of can't get the thing. It's the lottery mentality. If I won the lottery, I would take care of my money so intelligently. Unfortunately, the reason that you'll never quote unquote win the lottery is because you don't have the fundamentals to sustain and grow and then hang on to that money in the first place. And that's why so many people lose it after they get it. So yeah, I think it's very accurate.
Damn, that's a good one. I think that applies to a lot of aspects, you know. What about your view for past struggles and what they mean? Like, how do they hold today?
A lot of the worst times I've ever had have taught me the most valuable lessons, and the ones that I practice the most often. When I started entrepreneurship, I had this really negative perspective on sales. I had a really negative perspective on money. And when I was the brokest on this entrepreneurial journey, that's when I learned the most about what authentic sales means to me and where my money blocks kind of came from. Now I'm the chief sales officer at our business. Nice. So that never would have happened if I didn't go through the darkness and if I didn't deal with that pain. This is going to sound very cookie cutter, fortune cookie, bumper sticker self-improvement. But some of the darkest nights you go through will allow you to create lights that you keep on forever. And that is now my philosophy. I still have bad days.
I love that
appreciate
quote.
It, man. I appreciate it. I still have bad days. I told Joe this when I got in. I said another day in paradise. And I said, honestly, man, I just lied to you. Things kind of suck right now. I'm kind of struggling, but there's lessons that I just haven't learned yet that I will take with me forever. The pain usually goes away, but if you want to hang on to the lessons, there's a way to do it.
Man, I've always been the type of person, it's probably because I didn't have it my whole life or anything, but like money, hated money, didn't want to know my bank account, never wanted to look at it, don't tell me what it is. And even with money, I anticipate never caring like what that looks like because I don't operate with it. I don't make any of my decisions day to day or what I have to do based on that at all, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're just not emotional with money.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right? Some people are. I won't say I'm super emotional. I'm less emotional than I've ever been, but I notice a drastic difference between my fulfillment and a lot of things when the number in the bank account is lower. I just know that about myself. I'm trying to work through it to the degree that I think it's destructive, but it also can potentially light a fire under your butt if you use it that way.
Man, you made me think I get more passionate about losing things in a video game than I do about real money. Because the factor of working hard for something, you know, and then you lose it. Damn. This is the one I really want to ask. How do you differentiate between genuine growth and superficial progress in your life?
Ooh, damn. Superficial progress looks really good, and it is far more about vanity than it is actual growth. Growth is you going through stuff that you probably don't want to go through or grow through, because
The
you
scary
know
stuff.
the scary stuff. You know the stuff on the other side is where you want to get to. But it's just like anything in life. There are vanity metrics for everything. You're an artist. Certain streaming numbers are vanity metrics. You can get 1 million streams and $0. So
Yep.
that is a vanity metric if you're counting on that. So yeah, that would be my definition.
That's a good one. What about how you stay motivated when facing setbacks or stagnation in your growth?
I think this is a very timely question, because I had a moment before this where I have a to-do list that's a mile long. I always do. And I was like, I'm going to do it later. I don't have it right now. I just want to take a minute, and I want to sit, and I just want to take a second to be, because I very rarely get moments to be. So a couple things usually get me out of the rut. One of those things is I reflect on the past. I don't know about you, but I am not supposed to be where I am today. I was the kid who didn't go to college. I was the kid who never felt smart enough. I was the kid who didn't have a dad, the kid who never had money. Where I am today is drastically further than I thought I was going to get. I got to look back and see how far I've come to give that perspective and say, Kev, I know right now it is rough, but the pain that you are in right now, you would have traded your old life for that any day of the week. It's the understanding for me now that the overwhelm of too much is way better than the overwhelm of not enough. And I try to constantly remind myself that a lot of the problems I have today are problems I would have wished for 5 years ago. Now, is it always that simple? No. I still have those moments where I'm frustrated and I'm upset and I'm probably an asshole to myself. I still have those moments, but I try to reflect. And then the other thing I try to say is, look, this is genuinely what you want. If you don't want this, you can quit. And then all these problems go away. So I signed up for it. I signed my name on the dotted line. This is what I signed up to do. It's okay that it's going to catch your breath, look back on how far we've come, because at one point this was all a dream.
Damn. That's so good. I was trying to relate to it because I was thinking like, yeah, I can think of art, like reflecting on old art, and I'm like, I don't sound like that anymore. Look at the progress that I made. That's crazy. So yeah,
I'm gonna listen to your stuff after we get off here. I need you to know that, Joe.
I was asking your assistant. I'm like, send me links. She's like, no, ask him about it.
Yeah,
it's like a personal hobby for you, apparently.
I'm not. If you said like, hey, I'm gonna hit a beat, we're gonna kick a freestyle, it's like, I don't think that's my jam. I put some up on Instagram. I'll send you some stuff.
See, I really just got to be in the zone to want to do something like that, to like on the spot. But yeah, how do you handle moments of self-doubt even after achieving success?
I am riddled with self-doubt. Even with all the quote unquote success I have, I still have moments where I get imposter syndrome. I still have moments where I don't think I'm smart enough. I don't think I'm good enough. I always try to look at the most recent and relevant proof that disproves the negative emotions that I have going on in my head. So, as an example, I went on a podcast probably like a year ago, and the host of this podcast was a doctor for NASA. So, this person was a space doctor. I didn't know that was a real job. I thought that was stuff in movies. I didn't know that was like a real career somebody could pursue.
Either.
Makes sense now, but at the time I had no idea. So I'm sitting in the green room, and I remember thinking to myself, there's no way I'm supposed to be on this interview. There must be another Kevin Palmieri who's doing podcasting that is like in NASA or something. And I started having these doubts. I'm not going to be able to add value. This person isn't going to like me. And then I looked back, and I did an interview a couple of weeks prior where I was talking to a doctor of psychology, and it went better than I expected. It went really well, and I had doubts before that. So my recent relevant proof is, Kev, the last time you didn't believe in yourself and you went and did the thing, it went better than you expected. Let's do it again and lock that proof in, and lock that proof in, and lock that proof in. And I just think, Joe, I think I'm a really good example of what happens when you try to consistently push your comfort zone. I might look super confident. I might look like I have it all figured out. I've just done 2,000 podcast episodes, so I feel really good here. but this is just me. I mean, this is the only blip that you get to see of me. There's a lot of places in life where I don't have this level of confidence and I have self-doubt. So I always like to put that out there because, it's important. It's important to understand that, yeah, I'm the most quote unquote successful I've ever been, but that also means I have a lot more fears I need to face in order to get to the next level of success.
More pressure.
100%.
Interesting. What drives you to keep innovating and pushing boundaries in your podcasting career?
Man, I just want to be good. I want to be a really, really, really good podcaster. I want to be a really, really, really good speaker. I want to be able to take something that is very confusing and very pie in the sky and just say, you know what? I'll give you a one-liner and hopefully I can make that land for you. It's the mastery for me. It's the getting really good at putting words in a certain order to facilitate some sort of emotion. That's like, for me, it's the creative process of just getting in flow and seeing what happens. I don't know what questions you're going to ask me. I don't care what questions you're going to ask me. I want to do my best to add a massive amount of value to you and your audience, and hopefully something I say will raise somebody's awareness. So for me, it's all about that.
Here's what's funny about that is I study how to speak better, how to take the questions in different directions, but you are actually such a good speaker that I lose my thoughts while you're speaking because I'm because I'm listening. That's a good thing though, I don't want to miss what you're saying. So that's
I appreciate that.
And I don't have that with many other guests. I'm I can at least go back to what I was thinking about.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. A lot of it's the reps. It's just when you do something for, I can go to the gym with my eyes closed and half asleep and have a really good workout. I just have done it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Same with podcasting. Me at a 6 out of 10 today is better than me at a 10 out of 10 5 years ago. It's just a night and day difference.
Yeah, I was trying to compare this earlier to entertainment, how Michael Jackson was doing it from such a young age that there was no experienced performer like that to ever exist. If you think about how polished he was by 20, geez, masterful is underrated.
Like Tiger Woods, I think Tiger Woods had a golf club in his hand when he was 5. It's so hard to replicate the amount of time under tension in a given arena. It's just really hard to replace that.
That's so true. It's crazy. What about the balance between navigating authenticity and marketability?
Ooh, great questions. I'll tell you this. In the beginning, I thought I was authentic, and I thought I wanted to be the most authentic version of myself. But the truth is, I was really struggling to the point where I wasn't ready to tell people how bad I was really struggling. So I think I've always thought more about authenticity than marketability. Credibility, I think about credibility, but man, I do my best to say stuff that I know will resonate without losing a ton of credit, without taking too many credit hits. When I was the brokest I'd ever been, I didn't talk about how broke I was, but I definitely didn't talk about money.
Yeah, I feel
There was a conversation that my business partner and I had. I said, dude, I will not talk about something that I cannot help someone with.
Talk about what you know. About what you know, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And what I'm practicing. I'm not going to talk to Joe about how to make more money when I can't pay the bills. I can't. It's misaligned for me. So that's a big piece of it. And now I do so much content that I kind of live my life in a public eye because we do an episode every day. So I kind of have to talk about what I'm going through. Now, authenticity to me is marketability. The more authentic you are, the more you're going to facilitate creating a deep, meaningful relationship with whoever's on the other side of the mic or the speaker or whatever it is. And I think that goes a lot longer way than I realized in the beginning. So now to me, they're almost kind of merging together.
How do you think that plays into music in the future?
I think Taylor Swift is a really good example of when you go to your audience and you go above and beyond, it does something different. There was a story about how Taylor Swift, somebody reached out to T Swift, sent her an email or mail or whatever, and invited her to their wedding.
She just pulls up. Yeah.
That seems like a giant waste of her time. Do you know how many people?
That's branding, though. That's part of her brand.
That's branding, yeah. So that Russ, I think Russ is a really good suggestion of this. For those who don't know, Russ is an independent artist who's super successful. He talks to his audience. I think a lot of people think that exclusivity, I'm very hard to reach, you cannot reach me, I'm behind a paywall, I don't have time for you, versus inclusivity, I have time for you, I'll try to respond to all my messages, I'm just a human being like you. That second thing, that second piece, I think that goes further than it ever has, and I think it's going to go a lot further in the future as people become more exclusive and more exclusive.
And more into AI and robots.
Yeah. Times are getting weird, and they're going to keep getting weird.
What about the most unexpected lesson you've learned from your podcast guests?
Probably that your adversity can be your advantage if you know how to use it. We started having guests on pretty early, and after the first couple, I was like, wow, that person has a really crazy story, or a really traumatic story, or a really transformational story. Probably won't get another one like that. And then the next guest had one, and the next guest had one, and the next guest had one. And then it was like,
totally true.
Yeah. And their trauma became their thing. It's like the deepest pain that I've experienced is the pain that I'm trying to help other people avoid. And that became the through line of almost everybody we ever interviewed. And that really helped me understand that the trials and tribulations and the pains and the traumas and the triggers and the scarcity, that stuff becomes a part of your story. And then eventually it becomes your purpose. And it's weird for me now to look back and realize how much my purpose has come from my deepest pain. And now on podcasts, I'm the guy with a story who now that's what I do every day. And it's kind of come full circle.
That is crazy. What do you consider your biggest failure in entrepreneurship, and what did it teach you?
Probably three and a half years into the journey, we started a podcast production company. And we had a mentor at the time who was very, very wealthy. We're talking net worth, probably 20, 30, $40 million. He said, I want to start a podcast. I'm your guy. I got you. Cool. What you're looking for, the package that you're looking for, is $1,500 a month. He's a multimillionaire. That's going to be fine. He's got the money. He's got plenty of money. He said, no, 1,500 is too much. What about 1,000 a month? I'll pay you 3 months up front, and I will let you sponsor my show. So anytime I have a guest on, I'll tell them who does the production and all that. And I said, nah, man, $1,500 or nothing. He chose nothing. Damn. And I reached out to him a bunch of times after that. He never got back to me. So that the lesson was sometimes there's a fine line between being entitled to something, saying, well, this is how much we charge and we don't charge anything else, and understanding the importance of a potential opportunity.
Dude, I've given that to a lot of people in my life that didn't care because it was not enough money. That's happened to me a lot.
That was the lesson for me, and that changed everything in business for me. I don't care what you charge. I care what people are willing to pay. Like, cool. You charge $10,000 for your course? Awesome. Go find 100 people to buy it.
And my mentality was like, well, because I didn't have it like that person does either, but my mentality was like, I'd rather pay than nothing. I want to at least say I did pay something. But that's interesting, though. It's just situational, but that's cool. Very good to hear. What about, how do you maintain a fresh perspective and avoid burnout?
I don't. Yeah. I will never be that guy who tells you how to accomplish your goals without burning out. I'm burnt out right now as we speak. I'm
about to crash, Joe.
I'm going to keep, that's the thing, is like my capabilities are way more than they were in the beginning, but yesterday was a 13-hour day. I think Monday was like a 16-hour day. Like, this is just a grind. What I would say in terms of trying to add value is I think burnout comes from different places. Burnout can come from overwhelm and you're just doing too much productive output, or it can come from misalignment. It's very easy to get burnt out when you're doing stuff that doesn't fulfill you. What I do fulfills me, so I can just do it way more than other people. Just like you could maybe sit down and write 50 songs in a weekend because it's like, all right, I'm on to something here. When somebody else just can, or somebody else can write 50 pages of a book. Not a chance am I writing 50 pages of a book. Not in a day, not in a week, not in a month, maybe not even in a year. So I think checking in with, on a scale of 0 to 10, how aligned are the things that I'm putting my time, energy, effort, and focus into? It's a really good place to start, because if it's aligned, I think you can do it with a longer runway. But if it's misaligned, it's going to burn you out faster. And if you find yourself in like a pattern of burnout, every Friday I'm crashing.
Change
that
jobs.
Might be, yeah. That might be a suggestion that what you're doing just isn't sustainable, right? And
For
2
sure.
days off just isn't enough.
Moving into human nature and psychology here, how has your
Okay.
understanding of human nature evolved through your work and personal experiences?
I studied myself at a pretty deep level, and then I started to see the patterns that I had in other people. Then I started to recognize the patterns that I didn't have in other people. And then it became this journey of having deep conversations about the psychology of humans and why people act the way they act. So one of the earliest examples I can give to this is we have a Facebook group, and we used to have questions to get in. And one of the questions would be, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you believe in yourself? And I think the other one was, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much self-worth do you think you have? And what we noticed, Joe, is people who I know personally in real life would put, I have 10 out of 10 self-belief. And I know they don't. I am certain of it. I've talked to them. People who have enough self-belief to say, I have a 0 out of 10, have more belief than they thought they did. And it became this really interesting understanding that nobody is truly accurate with their belief in self. The question is, are you over? Do you believe in yourself more than you should? Or do you believe in yourself less than you should? Is your self-worth higher than you think it is?
That's a good point. Wow.
Yeah. Or is it lower? It's kind of, my self-belief is lower than it should be based on merit.
I think so,
or whatever.
Too. I agree with that one.
Right? My self-worth is lower, probably, than it should be. How much do I value myself, my time, my boundaries as a human being? It's probably under. So you most likely will never see me in an arrogant way, because those things are somebody who is self-conscious and self-doubting. Usually the people who come across as arrogant are the people who have super high self-belief or super high self-worth.
Wow. Makes
so that's
total
what
sense.
We've seen.
It makes total sense too.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to hear it, and then you're like, oh yeah.
And then now you'll see it forever.
To explain the behaviors, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, then you better hope that person knows what they're talking about if they're excited. That's good. So don't get excited so I can believe you is what I'm saying. What psychological barriers do you think hold most people back from reaching their potential?
Fear of success or fear of failure. Fear of success stems from...
Which one do you relate to more, by the way?
Fear of failure.
Mine's success. Interesting.
Okay, cool. This will be good. We'll see if it works the way sometimes it works. Fear of failure usually comes from a deep core wound of being defective. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not enough. For me, my dad abandoned me, and I grew up broke, and I never thought I was going to be successful, right? You can see how that kind of perpetuates.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of success, from what we've seen, usually is connected to somebody who is a high achiever, and every time they get a new result or a new success in their life, they get villainized terribly by the people around them. And then in their mind, they think, well, if I want to have love, I have to play small, and I can never really be the full, true, authentic version of myself.
I would use the words dumb myself down. That's pretty much it.
We've heard that one often. Yeah. And then it becomes, okay, I want to be successful, but I don't want to be alone. So I guess I'll just like live in this box of I'm successful enough, but I'm not too successful where people get triggered by me. Exactly. And the people closest to me villainize me.
I trigger the people closest to me all the time. It's horrible.
So it makes sense if it's
even when I'm trying to help.
Yeah, well, it makes sense if fear of success is the thing that it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It makes total sense. For me, I tend not to trigger people because I'm like the underdog. So people tend to like me, and I tend to do pretty well in relationships. My business partner is the most confident human I've ever met. He gets villainized so much, and his fear was...
if your predictions come true. Does his predictions come true?
Always.
See?
Always.
That's
always.
crazy. That's an interesting thing. And I was like, is it an imposter syndrome? For a long time, I didn't know what it was. So I'm glad that I know it is fear of success, because I didn't know how to define it. It was like, what is wrong with me? Yeah.
You just got to find your people. That's the hardest part, is when my Alan, my business partner, co-host, he met a woman named Emilia. And Emilia believes in herself more than he does, and she has bigger goals than he does. That unlocked psychological safety in him because he can be his full, authentic him.
Wow.
And he's never going to get villainized for it.
Find other ambitious people.
100%.
Damn.
Yeah, 100%.
Poof. Thank you for that.
You're
Good
welcome,
stuff. How do you approach and manage your own cognitive biases?
Ooh, goodness. First, becoming aware of them.
You're like, I only hang out with people like me.
No, I had an opportunity. So I come from a very small town where I think there was only three African Americans in my school.
I can relate to that one.
Yeah. So I never experienced cultural differences or religious differences or any of that. When I was in my 20s, I worked with many people from different places in the world. And I started to recognize how much racism there was on their day-to-day basis. I could see it.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard for me because I was like, these are like my friends. These are really nice people. Why are you, without meeting them, looking at them a certain way? That always kind of messed with me. But I don't know. Would I have been the same if I didn't have the opportunity to work so closely with them and get to know them? So I think it's one, the awareness that I most likely have a bunch of them. I just am not super aware of them. Two, the ones I am aware of are the ones that I need to work on. And it doesn't make you a bad person to have certain psychological cognitive biases. Most people do naturally. I think it's the people that don't admit them and then just don't try to work on them where things can get to a dangerous place.
I'll give you an example, a super basic one. I always tell my friends, I'm like, I don't like listening to female artists. I don't listen to any of them. But because I know that, I'm always like trying to see, like, do I like this voice? Like, I give it more attention because I'm like, I don't want to be a complete critic. I'm like, someone could change my mind, you know?
That's a really good example. Yeah, it's a really good example.
Damn. Do you have any that you're aware of immediately?
Man. The female artist thing resonates with me. I'm sure there's like some undertone of minority. I'm sure there is. Right? I work when I don't know what year it was. During the pandemic, there was a lot of crimes towards the minority. I think it was like mostly African Americans. There was a lot going on in the Black community. And we had a book club. And my wife and I were reading, I think it was How to Be Anti-Racist, I think was the book. And for me, it was like, yeah, no, there's probably some biases in there that I am just not aware of. So yeah, I'm sure there's probably some racial ones, and I've worked really, really hard on leaning into those and understanding them because I love people. I do. I love all people. But if there's unconscious and subconscious stuff going on and you're not aware of it, you can't really work on it.
For sure. At the same time, if we could all just like laugh at our own stereotypes together, it'd be easier.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like there's some truth to it. But what has been the most surprising insight you've gained about human behavior?
Most people are just looking to get their needs met. And unfortunately, people behave in potentially negative manners in order to get their needs met. If somebody is looking for significance, There's a lot of ways to get significance. You can get significance by bullying someone else. You can get significance by sexually assaulting someone else.
Internet clout.
Yeah. Yep. Internet clout is all significance based. Yeah. You can make a lot of bad decisions for significance. So it's, almost everybody is just trying to get their needs met. And the better you are and the more resourceful you are, because I think this is why self-improvement is so valuable. I'm able to get my needs met in a more positive way than I used to, because I know how to communicate with my wife. I know how to communicate with my business partner. I know why I'm feeling and thinking the way I am, so I'm most likely not going to make a negative, toxic decision in order to get my needs met. So that's been one that's been very, very highlighting for me.
Communication, I guess you would say.
Communication's huge. Yeah, communication's huge. Because if I come on here and I say, hey, Joe, I'm grateful. I'm super excited to chat today. If you notice any undertone of just sadness, it's not you, brother. Like, you're great. I just am feeling off today. And I just don't want you to feel any type of way. I don't want that to rub off on you. I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page as you. That is a completely different connection. That's a completely different episode. That's a completely different relationship, right? But that's self-awareness.
Interesting. That's a good point. Super good point, because I'm sure so many relationships would benefit from one conversation, or the way that they're just trying to get their point across. Just say it differently, ask the person differently, and it would solve everything.
Yeah. Imagine if you get home from work and you had a really bad day and your partner says, hey, how was your day? And you say, honestly, it was pretty bad. I think tonight for me, I could use some alone time and I just want to veg out. I'm going to order food and I'm going to watch my show. I'd appreciate it a lot if you'd be willing to grant me that space, versus thinking you have to spend time with your partner and you're frustrated and you're angry and you're not thinking and you're not listening. Two very, very, very different scenarios.
And holding it in perhaps could be another one. Yeah, that's a good point. Super good point. How do you think societal norms and expectations shape individual aspirations and self-worth?
Ooh, shoot. I think most people, one of my favorite quotes, I came up with it, so it probably makes me sound arrogant. I'm sure somebody said it.
I want originality. Let's go.
I got you. Your reality becomes the parts of your imagination that you hold on to and pour into the longest. I think the issue is, if I'm worried about what Joe thinks about my imagination, it's not socially normal to start a podcast and then quit your job. It's not socially normal to do this thing, As human beings, one of the things that we're all after is belonging. And when something is outside of the social norms, you don't feel like you belong. And there's a lot of opportunities that we don't take. There's a lot of shots that we don't take because they do not fit into the realm of social norms. So unfortunately, I think it constricts us. And I think it stops people from doing a lot of things that they would be really good at and really fulfilled doing.
Any examples on that? You said shots we don't take.
Oh man. Yeah, I did a video one time. It was a rap. And I said, you ever heard somebody say that kid from high school who thinks they're going to be a rapper? Like that kid from high school? I'm that kid from high school who thinks he's going to be a rapper. I want to call that out because anybody who sees the video is going to be like, oh, is Kev still rapping? Like, he's the kid from our high school who thinks he's going to be a rapper.
Same though. I can relate to it.
Right? I'm the kid from my high school who thinks he's going to be the most successful podcaster in the self-improvement space now. That's what I'm going for. But you know how long it took me to admit that?
To find your niche.
Not even to find my niche, but to find my confidence to say, this is what I'm doing. I don't care if it's weird. I don't care if it's outside of the norm. I don't care.
Super good point, because so many people are just trying things.
Yeah, I'm all in.
But you're all in on what you know you want to do.
100%. And
you're not.
I didn't know in the beginning. I knew I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I did it more, it's like I'm all in.
And you're clearly seeing the value you're providing, right?
Of course.
Or else you wouldn't be doing it.
Of course. And that's a deep belief that you must have. You have 5 people that show up to your first show. You put on a show for those 5 people.
That's a good point.
Right?
Moving into fitness, weightlifting, martial arts here. How do you connect physical fitness and mental and emotional well-being?
When I am not exercising daily, I am more anxious. I am less patient, and I am just not as good of a man. I just am not. So yeah, for me, it's that. It's getting into your body and humbling yourself daily. It's very hard to get entitled when you go to the gym every day and you're losing every time you go there because the weights don't care and they don't lie and they don't sugarcoat it and they don't make you feel good. They weigh what they weigh, and either you can lift them or you can't. So it helps to keep me grounded. I had a mentor who told me one time, he said, Kev, the press is never right. You're never as good as you think, and you're never as bad as you think. You're usually somewhere in between. So it's important to have things that keep you grounded. And for me, daily exercise, dieting, I'm dieting right now. It sucks. Super humbling, right? It's hard. Doing challenging stuff is really good for you.
One of the consistent things I like to tell people is that it's important to know that you're good at something, and competitive aspect of maybe just being a man, right? You like need to know that you're good, that you can beat somebody. Is that where you relate in martial arts?
I was always so I'm 5'5" on a good day. I was always the small kid. And my thought was, I might be smaller than you, but if I can stick up for myself, there's nothing you can do to me. That was always a big thing for me. And I want to make sure my wife is safe. I want to make sure that I want to make sure I can handle myself. I want to make sure that if anything goes wrong, I can take care of myself. So it's mostly that for me. I don't have a lot of competition in life anymore, which is interesting because sometimes I long for it and I miss it, but it's mostly for just being a strong, capable man who can handle something if things do go astray. It's kind of that for me.
And in a literal and physical sense too.
100%. Yeah,
that's
100%.
a good point. I've thought to myself, if this happens, how am I going to get this person out of here? Type of thing. I get you.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. I think for me, self-improvement, I want to be good at everything. I want to be good at everything.
I don't talking about balance right here, right?
I call it juggling. Because right now I'm not at the gym, so I am not, so for me, it's like when I'm with my wife, I'm with my wife. So that's that's what I'm juggling at that moment. I call it juggling. I think balance for me is just not it,
I feel that discipline play in both your fitness regime and your professional life.
Discipline for me is a representation of doing the thing that you don't necessarily want to do, but is what's best for you, and you will be grateful you did after you do it. So I'm using that every day when it comes to fitness. I didn't want to go this morning. It was like, I do not want to do this today. Don't do it because you want to do it. Do it because you'll be grateful you did. And do it because future Kev, as high in the sky as that might sound, is going to be grateful that you did. So that's a big piece of it. The other piece is you're not always going to want to do stuff. I did a podcast episode today. We recorded one of our episodes today, and I said on the episode, I don't want to be here right now. I'm having a rough day. I'm having a rough week. There is a million places I'd rather be. But this is what I'm committed to, and this is my level of discipline. And the reason we got here is not because we wanted to do it every day. It's because when we had to do it, when we knew we had to get an episode out, when we knew we were supposed to do the thing, we did it. And then we were grateful that we did, and that locked in that discipline is not punishment. Discipline is opportunity.
It's interesting. Yeah, you made me think about just how fast my own podcast was growing in that aspect. I was like, yeah, like so quickly, like my process changed of recruiting and getting people on the show because of how quick it started to grow.
Congrats.
Yeah. All right, moving on to music and creative expression. How does the process of composing rap songs help you understand yourself better?
Goodness. Usually when I sit down, I've been having a lot of writer's block lately, and I think it's a mixture of writer's block and just I haven't been doing it. Mm-hmm. I haven't been doing the reps. But usually it starts with a like 10,000 foot view of a story. And then I take the story and then I just start writing and then see how it flows. But I always want to keep the overthought of the story. So the theme, yeah, I don't want to be the guy who just writes stuff because it rhymes. Mm-hmm. There's a place for that, and I think it's fun to do that.
Just very ABC. I get you.
Yeah, I want it to be a story. I want it to be a story. I want it to be a flow. I want it to.
I can see how that's therapeutic in itself.
Yeah, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle taking words and trying to figure out. Okay, I could use awareness and fairness, but fairness doesn't make any sense in this, so I have to find out another word. It's like, what rhymes with awareness? And it's then you kind of come up with that.
See, and then the next level is you're taking the syllables because it's so fun to you. You're just like looking for other things to fit.
Yeah.
The next level is like you're literally having fun with the words of it.
Yeah. I remember this whole the whole like rapping thing that maybe I might be able to do rap. I remember this was you remember the AOL Instant Messenger days?
Of course, yeah.
My buddy and I were messaging back and forth, and we started rhyming words for some reason. And it was cat, bat, fat, whatever. And what I started to notice is when we got into multiple syllables, he couldn't do it. And I could. And I was like, wait, what do you mean you can't rhyme permission with something else? Right? And like permission and the kitchen doesn't really, but you can make it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, is this something I could do? And then I started writing poetry. And then from poetry, it was like, maybe I'll get the courage to start rapping one day.
That is cool. That is how it starts.
Mm.
Yeah, mine was hearing horrible music on the radio and thinking I can do better than that. What emotions or experiences do you find easiest and hardest to express through music?
I almost always write dark stuff. I'm not like the most inspirational person to listen to in terms of music. It's usually pretty dark. So I find it really easy to talk about self-doubt and not feeling like an underdog. A lot of my stuff is like underdog type stuff. I think the hardest thing for me to write about is happiness. Yeah,
Interesting.
I don't want to. I have no interest in it. It doesn't do anything for me writing about happiness. I like writing about dark stuff. I like writing about.
Interesting.
It's easy for me to do ego stuff.
See, mine, I like to focus on like the lyrical dissonance, so I write happy over sad stuff.
Can you go deeper in that? What do you mean happy over sad?
Like a sad beat to create the lyrical dissonance, I'll write happier lyrics or perseverance kind of lyrics over that.
I am going to be listening to your stuff tonight. Thursday night, Kev's going to be rocking up.
That's cool. But the cool part is all my new stuff, I've never been more proud of it. So I can't wait, And I think it's like another level of pride when you like can't wait to put it out as opposed to like, I hope the world likes this. It's like, nah, I know it's good.
So intrigued. Who would you, and again, if this is offensive, I don't talk to a lot of artists.
For sure.
Who would you not compare yourself to?
I knew you were going to ask that. So Pandora does it for me. I make a lot of my fans off the NF station.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty good comparison.
I'd say so.
How do you reconcile the vulnerability required in music with the image you present publicly?
My image is vulnerable. So for me, it is aligned. You want to talk about how I struggle with porn? Cool, let's do it. You want to talk about what it was like growing up without a dad? Cool, let's do it. I'm here to add value. I'm not here to look good. And that's I'm trying to lean more and more into that. The world has enough people that are out here trying to look perfect. I'm not going to try to be one of them because that's something I'm never going to be able to do. So yeah, what I lack in intelligence or what I lack in certain things, I think I can make up for with authenticity and vulnerability.
Another thing that's cool about music is you can say the things that you wouldn't be able to say out loud or any other way. But I feel like you do that also on the podcast. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's just, you get to a certain point where it's like, Alan and I did an interview. We were interviewing a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I talked about how I had a porn addiction. And Alan after was like, dude, how did you talk about that? And I said, what's the worst thing that happens? A bunch of guys reach out to me and say, oh my God, Kev, you're so weak for having a porn. It's like, I don't know what the stats are for porn addiction, especially when it comes to men. But what if there's one person listening who resonates with it? I'll give it a shot. And I had people that reached out, men and women, who said, I can't believe you talked about that. Like, what did you do to overcome it? It's like, oh, it's worth it. It's worth it to talk about vulnerable stuff because that's where impact really is.
Wow. So true. But I'm just surprised you can put that outside of music. So that's cool. What about what impact does your musical expression have on your mental health?
It gives me a lot of confidence. It gives me a lot of, it gives me a release. It feels like when you sit
Cathartic.
down. What's that? What is it?
Cathartic.
Yeah. When you sit down and you hear a beat for the first time, and again, every process is different, but when I hear a beat for the first time, usually the opening will just come. It's like, that's the opening. All right, cool. Let's go from there. And when it goes from a beat to a written to a recording to a final, it is this thing of, I made this whole thing come together. I'm really proud of that. And then I love listening to it. It's like, oh, let me listen to this. Is this as good as I thought it was? Let me listen to it tomorrow. Is it as good as I thought it was tomorrow?
Yeah. That's the
That's the
big one.
process.
That's the big one. Like, I hate it 2 days later. All right, future-oriented topics in AI. How do you foresee AI impacting the field of personal development, self-improvement? I'm sure you think of the therapy bots they got coming, chat bots and things.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you're not going to have to leave your house for therapy ever again if you don't want to, which is great. Love that. I think that it's also going to, I think you'll be able to facilitate really, really, really deep learning, where right now, if you take like an online course, like, yeah, you're going to go pretty deep and you have the opportunity to learn a lot. But I think with AI and all that's coming down the pipeline, it'll be able to facilitate a greater learning experience. But there's also going to be just as many negatives that come. But I think it's going to be a very good opportunity for people to really invest in themselves, and it's going to be more mainstream to do it because it's going to be cooler when you sign into an online group coaching program and everybody's like in a real classroom. I think that's going to be super cool.
Yeah. Or some VR goggles and you're there.
That's coming. It's not even coming. It's already here.
It's true. Yesterday they announced digital avatars for streaming and interactive in the podcast. So now eventually you'll just be able to walk away and you'll have your podcast little avatar talking for you. That's the
I don't
future.
want to ever. I won't do it. Can't do it. I'm not gonna.
Me either.
I gotta get
dude.
good, Joe.
What ethical dilemmas do you anticipate with the integration of AI in everyday life?
Oh, deep fake porn.
Oh my God.
That's already one. Yeah, it's already one. Yeah, I mean, you knew back in the day when people would Photoshop.
It's not me.
That's coming. I mean, that's going to be that, and we're already seeing a lot of this on social media where somebody will use AI to make it look like they were on the Joe Rogan Experience and Joe Rogan's talking about their product or service.
Yeah, that one's everywhere.
That's everywhere. So
that one's annoying.
That type of stuff is going to continue where if somebody has your voice, they can do a lot with it.
Hey, on another note, imagine thinking you know a podcaster so well he would never endorse this product.
I know, right? I've seen it. It's like, I don't know.
That's hilarious, though. Like, we're that familiar with one character in the podcasting space that we're like, bullshit.
Is Joe Rogan is he really talking about these toe spacers? Like, is that really what Joe Rogan's about? I don't know. But that kind of scares me because technology is moving very, very quickly. I think technology is moving faster than the human understanding of it and the human capability of dealing with the emotions that come from it.
For sure. And I'm sure people will just be grabbing clips and making jokes out of people like nonstop in the future. Easily.
Yep.
I anticipate it. What potential do you see for AI in enhancing human creativity and innovation? Also, do you see like a cyberpunk scenario where we're doing enhancements to our bodies?
Yeah, that'll happen. For sure. I think that'll definitely happen. I think what is going to happen is a lot of people are going to rely too much on AI. It will dehumanize a lot of what people are doing. Then we will realize that it's not nearly as valuable. And then I think human skill and talent will become even more valuable in the marketplace. I don't, because I've heard people have tried to talk to me about that. They're like, hey, you want to get on the ground floor of this thing? AI is going to be doing your podcast. You won't even have to do it. No, because when I get hired to speak on stage, my AI bot is not going to do that. When I get interviewed on another podcast, my AI bot is not going to do that. I need to get as good as humanly possible at speaking. So I'm going to keep doing that because I know eventually that's going to be the highest leverage point anyway. So that's my thought on that.
Coming into the upbringing and influence, what values from your childhood have remained with you? How did they evolve?
Hard work, reliability, and grit. My mom, up until like, I don't know, let's just say 5 years ago, I don't know if my mom ever missed a day of work. I never once saw her call out. She was never late. It didn't matter if she was sick. She went to work every day, no matter what. I get it from there for sure. Generosity. We never had a lot of money, but my mom always wanted to tip people. She always wanted to take care of people. I am very much that way. I love taking care of people. One of the reasons I want more wealth is so I can donate more money. It's just one of the things I love, helping people financially. So those are two of the big ones for me that still, I mean, that's every day for me, everyday thoughts.
Good ones right there.
I appreciate it.
How did early life experiences influence your passion for self-improvement and helping others?
I didn't grow up with almost any self-improvement. So for me, I have a deep belief that if I had self-improvement earlier in my life, I never would have got to the place where I was suicidal, or I never would have got to the place where I felt stuck and trapped and like there was no other way out. So if anything, I don't know if there was any one thing that happened in childhood that made me realize self-improvement was important. I think it was the lack of self-improvement in my entire life that made me question how my life might look differently if I had it.
It's pretty cool. We usually end up pursuing the opposites in that aspect.
Yeah.
What about pivotal childhood memories that you often reflect on, and why?
I don't know if I have a good answer for that because I don't remember a lot of my childhood, honestly.
Same.
Yeah, I don't remember a ton. One of the things, again, it you can see how somebody forms their identity. When I was 9 years old, I played baseball for the first time. My mom made me play baseball. I didn't want to play. And I ended up being really good. I was an all-star. So I was in farm league when I was 9. When you're 10, you go up to little league. And there was this coach who didn't pick me because I was too little. That's what he said. He's too small. He can't be good. He's too small. And then every time we played against him, I would hit home runs. And I'd have like the best games ever. The first grand slam I ever hit was up against his team. That taught me that even as an underdog, especially as an underdog, you can still prove people wrong. And that kind of became my identity. And I ended up being friends with that coach later in life. We ended up being friends, and that was kind of a full circle thing. So that's a childhood memory I have.
You're like, I beat him up and now we're cool. How do you see your past shaping your future aspirations and goals?
Kind of what you just spoke to, being the opposite. Yeah, I want to be financially abundant so I don't have to worry about where the next paycheck is coming from. I want to be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually healthy so I can be the most healthy version of myself. And I was not good at relationships in the past. I just didn't understand how to be in love. I didn't understand how to be a supportive partner. I didn't understand how not to be insecure around a partner. So I'm trying to avoid all of the mistakes I made in the past by not just avoiding the mistakes, by being the type of person who understands where the mistakes came from in the first place and then just not doing those behaviors and hopefully evolving past that type of behavior. Again, I'm always going to mess up. It's just hopefully in a higher quality way.
For sure. How did your upbringing shape your view on success and failure?
I villainize success for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. In the beginning, I definitely, it's like,
don't praise me.
Well, it was mostly like, this person has money, they're probably bad. Like, they gotta be bad. They got a lot of money. And what did they do to get there?
That's a good point.
So there was a piece that I had to uncondition from there for sure. And then I developed a habit of spending money right after I made it. That was like a thing that I developed, and I think it's from childhood because we didn't have money and we spent it pretty much right after we made it. So a lot of it for me was the money, the villainization of money, the relationship with money, the relationship with wealth. That was really, and you could see how it plays out into life later. I thought money was going to fix all my problems after I stopped villainizing it. It didn't.
Coming down to the last 5 questions here. Feel free to answer them as fast as you can. Okay. How do you feel about the increasing commodification of mental health in the self-help industry?
I think it's wonderful. I think the fact that we are no longer villainizing, or there's not the, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I don't know what the word is, but people aren't crapping on it as much. It's good to talk about your feelings. It's good to be vulnerable. I think it's wonderful that we're going in that direction. And I think that the next generation is going to lean into that even more.
I hope so. How do you respond to the body positivity movement in relation to fitness and health?
Oh, my goodness. Controversial question. Man. At the end of the day, it's your body and you can do whatever you want to it and for it. But if you want to have a long, healthy life, I think there's a difference between being positive about the way somebody looks and understanding that it might not be the healthiest for longevity.
Taking care of it. Yeah,
I love mixed martial arts, but I also realize that's a very dangerous thing to be a part of. Like you are, for my entertainment, you're actually taking years off of your life. That's a very, very important thing to know. So if you want to love yourself the way you are, I support that 1,000%. Does that mean that your life might not be as good or the same longevity, or you might not have the same opportunities? That is a potential. So as long as you're aware of that, who am I to tell you how to live your life?
Are you concerned about AI potentially replacing human jobs, especially in creative fields?
Yes, but I think eventually we will get sick of it and we'll miss the human aspect. We'll miss the human aspect. You're not going to tell me AI is going to write a song like Stan that people are going to resonate with forever. There's something to the human experience that a computer cannot yet replicate.
Man, and I hope it stays like that.
Same.
What's your opinion on the current state of the rap industry and its influence on young people? Be honest. Be honest.
I think it's dangerous. Before social media, I didn't know if Nelly was really doing the stuff that he was talking about in the songs. So it was like, yeah, it's probably just music. Now with social media and everything is so fast, there's a lot of rappers out here who are murdering people and then rapping about murdering people.
Who are, quote, about that life.
Yeah. I think that's a potentially dangerous thing, because anytime you're glorifying something that's not good and then showing the results that you've gotten by doing that thing.
Oh my God.
Right? There are people that are going to follow in those footsteps, and that's obviously
Thank you, major labels investing. Last question here. Well, second to last. How do you view the hustle culture and how it glorifies constant work and burnout?
I think some of you out there need to work more, 100%. And some of you out there are too grinding and you need to work less. The opposite of hustle culture is relax culture, and that's not good either. It's a unique perspective and a unique prescription for each person, but you are going to have to grind to the level that your goals dictate. If you don't want to grind as much as I do, that's fine. I don't really either, but my goals dictate the grind. If the goals dictate the grind and the grind is not aligned, you can change the goals. And then you don't have to grind as much.
Bar. You got a bar. What does it mean to you to be more than rich?
It means everything. It means that I'm on the right path. It means that I'm pouring into my character. It means that I'm being a good, heart-driven, balanced man who is doing this for the right reasons. Yes, results are awesome. But being more than rich is being able to put your head on the pillow at the end of the night and say, I gave all I had. I was the best version of myself. I was the most aligned version of myself. And I did my best to make a positive mark on this planet today. And that's, for me, if I can think about that before I go to sleep, I'm more than rich.
Anything you want to promote, how to find you, contact you, email, website?
Next Level University is the name of our podcast. We're on all the podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. So yeah, just that. I don't want your money. You can listen. It's always free.
But if someone does need something from you, what do you offer and how to, go into details? Yeah.
We do, if you're looking to get to the next level of your life, health, wealth, life, and love, much of what we talked about today, we have one-on-one coaching. We have group coaching. We have a podcast production company. We have a social media service company. So if you're a business owner and you need help with something, audio editing, video editing, all that stuff. We can do all that as well. But yeah, just listen to the podcast. That's
also, what city are you in? Just reference.
I live in New Hampshire.
Good to know. Cool. If anyone knows that, obviously you work remote, but physical always helps too.
Of course.
Cool, dude. We've been a very, very thoughtful hour here. I did not think that it was going to go like this, but it always turns into something. Like we said, we always learn something from our guests.
100%.
So I definitely appreciate you, and I'll let you know when this is out.
I appreciate you back.
Next Level University, y'all. More Than Rich podcast. We are out.